This is how to replace the oil on your Ariens Deluxe series 28 254cc, or really any Ariens Deluxe series 28 at least engine oil. So the tools that you will need are the engine manual, which is right here, the model number so that you can actually figure out how much oil capacity based on the cc's. The tools they recommend are a 14mm wrench in order to hold the oil drain plug, which is right here. But funny enough, it turns out that a 14mm wrench does not actually work. What you need is a 12, and I can show you why. You're basically holding it here like this, and so it turns out that 12 is what actually fits and provides a pretty snug feel. A 14-inch does not fit, and it doesn't actually hold at all. And then what you will want ideally is, according to the manual, a 10mm oil drain plug or a 16mm drain cap. For mine it's 16. I don't actually have a 16, so the options are you can either use a 17, which is a little bit larger, or if you want SAE, you can use a 5/8, which actually fits better, and that's what I'm going to use today. So I'm going to get rid of the 17. So before you begin, glasses, safety, always important. You want a oil drain pan, which is right here. You want oil, and really any SAE 5W30, 32 ounce, 1 quart is ideal according to the recommendation, and I'll post a link to this. But again, 5W30, and you can figure out the engine oil capacity. This one is a 254cc, so that's 20 ounces of oil. All right, let's get started. So the first step is really to figure out your oil. So this yellow cap here is the oil check measure, and what you do is you would unscrew it, and after you wipe it clean, so I'm gonna wipe it, and there we go, put it back and check the level. So what's really important here, and I don't know if you can see this, there is a full mark and an empty with an OK in the middle. What you really want to be is right in between. You don't want to be over. So everything looks good. We're not burning oil, it's not leaking, so we know that it's good, and we can now proceed to change it. Alright, so to change the oil, we're going to follow the manual exactly, and again I'm going to post a link to this. So the first step is beginning with a cold engine, which is what we have. We haven't turned it on. I'm just taking it out after the summer. And the first step is to actually start the engine for a minute or two, and the reason for that is the oil heats up, it actually flows quicker. I don't have any gas. I'm not planning on doing this. I haven't really done this before. And really the only difference is that it just pours slower. It takes a little longer, which for our purposes it's fine. But once you turn the engine off, the really key things to make sure are, one is you want the off position here. You want the switch, the rocker, to be in the off position, which is here vertically. And you really want this switch on run, which is the choke control. So once it's actually off, you can begin. And one of the things they recommend is removing the safety switch. Okay, there we go. So we remove the key. And it's a little bit hard here sometimes if you haven't taken it out, which I usually don't. I should. But once you remove the key, set it aside, and we can begin. So the first step is to position the oil pan right underneath the plug. The second step is, again, using that 12mm. There's a groove right here, and what you really want to do is you just want to hold it. You're supporting it, and the idea actually is that you're going to go counterclockwise so that you can go, sorry, I apologize, you can go clockwise so that when you unscrew it counterclockwise, it'll hold pressure. So we're going to put on. All right. Okay, and as soon as you release it, it will start pouring the old oil. And the next step is, while you can actually leave it to let it run, it actually makes sense to tilt it a little bit and help it speed up. Alright, so as you can see, the oil is almost done pouring out. And again, if you actually started the engine for a couple of minutes, warmed it up, it just makes the flow quicker. You don't really have to tip the snowblower like this. Again, this just speeds it up when you have a cold engine, which is what I do. Again, mostly because I don't have gasoline when I tend to do this. But as soon as you see it kind of, drip, 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 it's basically done. I let it usually run for a little bit more just to make sure that there's nothing in there. Another 30 seconds or so, and that's usually sufficient. Okay, so it's done. At this point, we're just gonna wipe it down. Do the same with the cap here. Clean up a little bit, and we're just gonna screw this back on. Now, there are no torque specs for this, but you really want to just go until it's snug, and so not too much, right? It's just holding the oil. There are no washers, like crush washers or anything else. And again, just so that it's snug. Preferably, if you're not doing this with one hand, as I'm filming this, what you would do is you would actually use that support 12mm wrench, and with one hand you will hold the counter and then screw this. But again, it just needs to be tight, nothing crazy. All right, and so now we are actually going to fill in the new oil. So again, per the engine manual, we are using 5W30. It's 1 quart, so we know that's 32 ounces. According to the engine manual, for a 254cc, that requires 20 ounces. So 32 ounces minus 20. So what we really want to do is, on the markings here, if you can see them, we want to be roughly around the 12-ounce mark. And there's nothing, ideally you want to go slightly less than over, because if you go to too much, you're gonna have to drain more oil, which is a little bit of a pain, whereas then you can always kind of put in check. So we're gonna open this. Okay, and we are going to go here back to where we checked the oil. We're going to unscrew the cap. So this is the oil check, engine oil and engine oil fill. Okay. And we are going to pour, again, from 32 ounces, which is currently full right here. We're going to go all the way down to 12 ounces, which is right here. So you could use a funnel. This works pretty well, so you don't really need to use a funnel. Okay, so poured a little bit, 28, and I am actually going to use a funnel. So there we go, small funnel, just to make it easier while filming again. And so we are at 28. We're gonna pour. And check. So we are at 20 right now, so we have a little more to go. Okay, we are right above the 12 mark. We could go just a little bit more. Okay, and so right now we are at the 12 mark, and obviously use an even surface. So if we do this, we are exactly at the 12 mark. So that should be enough oil. We're gonna take this out. Wipe it down. Okay. Wiped on any excess that's on the sides. And then we're going to take this dipstick. Let me just put the camera here. We are going to actually wipe it and then screw it back on here. And we are going to check the oil level, just to make sure that it's within the acceptable range. You can see how clean it is, and I don't know if you can see the shine, but it is right in between currently. So it's right below the full mark. I'm not sure if you can see the shine. All right, so it looks good. I'm going to put it back in, screw the cap, and that's it. We have now changed the oil. Again, according to the manual, they recommend changing it every 6 months or every 40 hours that you run it. So whichever comes first. Realistically, I haven't gotten that much snow here, even though I'm in New England. 40 hours of runtime is a long time. So I've never had to change it more than once per year, and that's generally what I do. I change it once per year. So the last step here is just to take the old oil, and what I do is I actually pour it back into the container it came from, just because it's easier. And then I usually take it to the town recycling, or I believe, I'm not sure if this is still law, but any gas station should be able to take it. At one point they said that the gas stations will only take their own brand, so in this case this is a Shell that I actually bought from Costco, so any Shell should take it, but the towns are pretty good about recycling the oil. Alright, so that's it. I'm gonna wipe this down, and that's changing the oil on an Ariens Deluxe 28. I believe it's the same for the 25. There's a slight variation to where the plug is, but that's about it. I hope this was helpful. Thanks.